Alrighty, welcome. I'm Karen and we're going to do breakfast bites today. What's a breakfast bite? Here's a finished product that is I made these really tiny, but you can make them a little bit bigger. But it's just a nutrition-packed ball that has coconut butter, almond butter, could be oats or buckwheat, ground flaxseed, pumpkin seed, you could do chia, you can put sunflower seeds, vanilla extract, maybe maple syrup. There's a lot of creativity, but this is a great little snack to have if you just want something in lieu of breakfast because you got to go, because you can make these ahead of time and then you don't have to worry, you just grab them and go. Or you want to do a workout and you just want something in your stomach. I like to do it in the morning, just to have something in my stomach to work out and then have my regular breakfast. But I have used them as my only breakfast. I was a period of time when I needed to do that. So what are the ingredients? I'm going to show you here. Here are some of the many ingredients, and there's some variation we can do. That's just vanilla extract. Buckwheat is, this one I make here, the base is going to be buckwheat. This is from Ranch 99, but this is organic buckwheat, hulled buckwheat. And I have made the breakfast bites with gluten-free oats, and that has worked fine. But I do like buckwheat. The buckwheat is so filling. That's why I really like these. And I'm also going to put some flax seed, raw pumpkin seeds, and I usually use raw sunflower seeds, but Trader Joe's only had the roasted and unsalted, so I said, okay, we'll have to do that. And one of the other things I like to do is put ground goji berries, and this has actually been frozen, and that's why it looks like it's perspiring here. But I'm going to grind it with using some coconut flour to make it more powdery. So I'll show you how to do that. And then one of the other things that helps to hold this all together is this is raw coconut butter. This is not coconut oil, so don't get confused. You need to use the raw coconut butter. It's just more substantial for doing that. And then you can use almond butter, and then peanut butter is also a substitute. There's no like magic in almond butter. It's actually more expensive to use the almond butter. But there's been a lot of benefits with almonds. But if you can't do almonds, you can certainly do peanut butter. And then some of the accoutrements, because there's always things you can add to this to make it a little bit more healthy or added. Lucuma powder is something that is it's sort of a naturally sweet product, and that is something you can add. You probably have heard chlorella is another powder that you can add, as well as spirulina. That's another one that's just added goodness. So those are some suggestions. So what I am going to do in this time is to grind. I need to grind everything up and make it ready to go. So I'm going to do that off camera. So we'll join back in after I got that done. Okay, welcome back. So I grounded the sunflower seeds, the raw pumpkin seeds, and they were supposed to be raw, the roasted, and then the flax seeds. So I ground all those, and that's the pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, flax seeds, and then underneath here is the buckwheat, which you don't ground the buckwheat. So the buckwheat is whole. I don't know if you can see that. I buried it. But the buckwheat stays whole. And that's just makes it easier. But we will ground buckwheat for the rolling part, because at the end we have to coat them in something. So I wanted to show that. And when I ground it, I use a kind of a coffee grinder, because a food processor just won't cut it for the flax seed, the sunflower seeds, or the pumpkin seeds. They'll still kind of stay more whole. So I had to do repetitive times, because I can only do about a quarter cup at a time. Oh, and then just for measurements, if I'm going to make a whole batch, I'm going to use a whole jar of this and a whole jar of this. I will double this recipe, so it's 2 cups of flax seeds, 2 cups of sunflower seeds, 2 cups of pumpkin seeds, and then 2 cups of buckwheat. So what I want to show now is the grinding of the goji berries, since that is something that is just a little bit different. So again, here come the goji berries. I put them back in the freezer because I learned this trick at the Whole Foods. I asked them, how do I because I've tried to just grind them if they're room temp, and it just ends up being a very big clump, and it's not very attractive, and it doesn't disperse well. So I found out is that if you freeze the goji berries, then they will be a lot more easier to grind. So these are frozen, and so I'm going to do a cup at a time. We'll do a total of 2 cups for the recipe. So I'll go ahead and put that in there. And then they say to do, well, they didn't say, I just sort of approximated. So I'm going to do a cup or a 1 tablespoon of coconut flour. Just I've done tapioca starch, but I think coconut flour makes me feel like it's a little bit healthier. So I'm just going to kind of approximate it. The whole point is just to have something that it's being blended in to help incorporate. So we'll go ahead and do that. So let's see how that goes. And I wanted to do this on camera, even though it's going to be really loud, just to be able to show how that's done. Because it's a newer technique than I just learned. So that was about 10 seconds. And you can see here, it's very nice ground. It's moving around. So that's the magic of being frozen. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other 2nd cup of this, and then I'll come back when we mix everything together. Hey, welcome back. We have ground the goji berries. So there is our about 2 cups worth in there. And it really, the 2 cups end up being more like 1 cup. But, you know, of course, again, this is just an add-in. It's not really the main part of the recipe, but I really do like adding it, so I wanted to share that with everyone. So this part here of mixing it all in, you know, this is just incorporating. So I'm going to now kind of take it back over to here so I can't hold this and do it at the same time. I'm not that talented yet. So here's the part where when I'm making this on my own, a lot of times I will just use my hands. I mean, honestly, when you get down to and you have to mix everything, I mean, you can see I have this whole big batter here. You know, and this what makes it kind of easy of doubling this recipe, because then you can just add everything and dump it all in. And I personally do like to use my hands because I can't really incorporate as easily just trying to stir. So it's just like if you're ready to get dirty with your hands, it's all good. And of course, you know, have clean hands, it's always good. So one of the things that I am going to go ahead and just add right now is the vanilla extract. And that's a whole other separate thing. My vanilla extract I make from vegetable glycerin, and I get the raw vanilla bean pods, and I just soak them in there. And so if you want to know more about that, I'll tell you. I found a pretty interesting recipe. It actually makes sense long term if you're using a lot of vanilla extract. So that is something. That's another little tip I do. So I went ahead and added that, and then again, this is the raw coconut butter. So I'm seeing it's a little bit harder to get out. So I'm gonna have to use a little bit of muscle here to dump this out. And this looks like, I mean, it almost looks like the consistency of frosting. That's what it kind of reminds me of. The very top layer looks like coconut oil, like the congealed sort of part of it. I don't know if you can really see that, but it's you can make frosting from the coconut butter, which you couldn't ever make frosting for a cake from coconut oil. But I just recently discovered the coconut butter. It's not something I really knew much about. I always see it in some recipes. I'm like, what is that? And apparently you can make your own coconut butter from coconut flakes. So if you buy just sort of the raw coconut flakes, even probably shredded coconut, apparently you can take those and, you know, again, you need a high-powered food processor, or which is what I use. I did try it, and I think you need something like a Vitamix, which it's not in my repertoire of equipment. But I did make a frosting-esque type thing, and it worked. I mean, but it was kind of like, well, I'm not going to do that again. I'll just buy it in the bottle or the jar here. That's just a lot easier. So sometimes I get adventurous and I will make my own of something, but the coconut butter was something that it was just easier to buy it and then just know that someone else did all the effort that I didn't have to do. So there it is. So that's 16 ounces. And then for this demonstration, I'm going to do this with almond butter. But again, you can use peanut butter. Will definitely work. And I'm going to set this over here. I'm making a special batch for a very special person, so we're going to keep things in separate corners for now. So this is just the almond butter from, you can see the hands start to get into it here. This is almond butter from Trader Joe's, and almond butter definitely, the price goes up and down. Ask me if you, where do I buy my almond butter? Trader Joe's is one place, and then I will also find really good deals on a place called VitaCost, and if I haven't already talked to you about it, ask me and I'll get you a discount code, because that is pretty good stuff. I mean, you buy enough stuff and you get free shipping, so then you don't even have to go to the Trader Joe's. And the products are definitely really good products too, and sometimes, you know, be like that Justin's will be on sale, or there's one that starts with like a wood, I want to say woodchuck or something, but it's like Woodland Farms or something. But that they have some really good brands, and it's like they have some organic brands, some just run-of-the-mill. They have their own brand, VitaCost, and a lot of them are pretty decent. Actually, the spirulina and the chlorella that I showed earlier is actually VitaCost brands, and that spirulina jar was like $20, and I bought that, I don't know, a year ago. I think it's still good. I'm a little distracted, sorry. I'm like, I bought that, it should still be good. Let's see, expires. I got till October, so I better make some more, find some recipes with that. But you know, I like to throw that in my smoothies, and this breakfast bites is another thing I like to put in, because you put enough stuff, then you don't even know it's there, but you get the goodness of it. So okay, so we've added that. So I'm looking on my recipe just to make sure. And we have everything. So here's the part that is very experimental. You know, it's just like, I mean, I measured the 1 cup of all those dry ingredients, and then, you know, when it gets processed, it ends up being a little bit less than 1 cup. Okay, here's where I just use my hands, because this gets too hard trying to stay pretty. So clean hands. So in mixing this up, you know, this is get your little arm workout and hand workout. But this is where you can really tell how things are mixing up. And what I love about this recipe, and the reason I kind of created this recipe, was to make a portable way of having a smoothie. Because I had a smoothie recipe, it's on my blog, that I kind of created after listening to a whole bunch of speakers talking about ketogenic benefits of having more fat. So I was trying, how do I get coconut oil as more of like a breakfast food? And so kind of started from that, and I would have coconut oil, I had the almond milk, I had raw cacao powder, and then I had like greens and other things. Like I actually would put ground flaxseed, sunflower seeds, and pumpkin seeds, and you know, it the first time I had it, and with you think, why would you put like coconut oil in a smoothie? But when it mixed up the very first time, it's like first time eating Breyer's ice cream, which I can't eat anymore, but it always it like tasted so awesome. I was like, wow, I gotta get more of this. So the same thing is that I make that smoothie, but it takes time to make smoothies, and so, you know, and I have my shortcut method is to make the smoothie, freeze it, and then de-thaw it the night before, so then I can just enjoy it and not have to make it that morning. But what I realize is sometimes I want something just quicker than that, you know, because if I forget to put the smoothie in the refrigerator from the freezer, then I can't really wait for that thing to thaw before I have it in the morning. So this breakfast bite is completely my own creation. I don't know if someone else has breakfast bites or energy bites. I didn't borrow any recipe. I just kind of took what made sense to me. So I used to toast the buckwheat in maple syrup on the stove. I mean, I was doing all this extra stuff, and then I realized, oh, I don't even need to do that. So, you know, that's why I just decided just to add the buckwheat in just raw, because it's still, it's edible and it still works. So that's what I kind of started out with. So you'll notice that this is pretty crumbly, and it'll kind of hold together. This is where, you know, we'll probably have to add a little bit more of like coconut oil, and this is, you know, this is the fun part. Well, I don't know if you think it's fun, but to just sort of add in some other ingredients to kind of help hold together. So the only things that we can add is we can add some cinnamon, which is just for flavoring. Like I said, the maple syrup is actually one of the other ones I always will add to kind of help bind it together. But I wanted to, this version I'm making today is just, it's kind of low sugar, so I'm going to let other people, because this is for class I'm doing, let other people add their sugar levels. But it will pretty much stay, you know, held together. The other thing I did not mention is ghee, which is clarified butter, which I know being dairy free, some people are like, well, why would you introduce butter? But apparently I can have ghee because I'm not, you take out the milk solids in the ghee, so I actually can have ghee, and ghee looks like this. This is the version, yeah, my refrigerator is not going to be happy here with my hands. But I bought this at Sprouts, and so this is refrigerated section. It says certified organic butter, in the parentheses see milk, and I'm like, oh, see milk. But the ghee does not have any milk, so there's no, what's that, the lactose or the other properties that you don't want to be ingesting if you have to be dairy free. So butyric acid or something, that's like the one thing you have to see if you're can tolerate that. But they definitely take out the milk solids, so it is dairy free. And what I actually like to do is just take some in my hand, and it's a solid like a butter would be, and then I'll rub that, and I'll kind of coat all the things in all the my bits here, and that will actually help solidify. And it does leave an interesting taste, but I actually like the taste because ghee on itself doesn't taste like butter, and it's misleading, and it always feels like something went rancid. But that's why I'm like, buy the organic and it should be fine, but there's still always taste, it's sort of an off taste, so I don't know what that's all about. But when it's mixed in here for this recipe, it actually works out pretty well. So that, I think I've covered pretty much everything for that. So you'll see that this is the it's like you're going to make a ball from that. So the thing is, I would add my other things that I want to add, and then, you know, I probably would need to add a little bit more of the coconut butter, which I have a whole other jar of. But actually no, you know, this would be a ball, and then it's pretty sticky, so I would roll it in. I'm going to grind some buckwheat, and I can roll it in that, or if I want to cheat, I've got the coconut flour because it's already processed. So you just want to roll it in that just so it has something to be coated. And like I showed you earlier from the refrigerator, when at the very beginning of this video, which was so many minutes ago, it's powdered on the outside. And I have done it where I've coated it with raw cacao powder. I have done that, which raw cacao powder is not sweet, so then you're kind of making it chocolatey, but not totally, unless you have more sweeteners inside. So that's the basic recipe for breakfast bites, and I did already show the final product, so I don't feel bad that I haven't been able to coat it. But that is something that I'm happy to share. It's a great recipe. It doesn't take that much work. It's a lot of preparation, but I mean, look at what all I have here. I mean, this would feed me for like 3 months if I wanted to have something every day. All right, thanks for watching.